Hey guys, tonight we drift far back to a world of olive trees swaying in the breeze, dust curling in the air like incense, and sandals flapping softly on cobblestones smoothed by generations of feet. You're standing at the edge of a small Greek village nestled between sun-bleached hills. The air is warm, but not stifling, and everything seems to hum gently like the low buzz of cicadas in the trees, or the rhythmic click-clack of looms coming from every open doorway. Here, weaving isn't a hobby, it's practically sacred. Women crouch or stand at large vertical looms, tossing shuttles back and forth as their dyed threads form vibrant shapes of dolphins, grapevines, and gods in flowing robes. The smell of wool, lanolin rich and earthy, hangs faintly in the air. You pass by baskets of carded fleece, vats of crushed snails and madder root used for dyeing, and one extremely judgmental goat. Don't worry, he glares at everyone. In this sleepy place, legends aren't carved in stone or shouted in Warno. They're whispered over laundry lines and folded into cloth. Some say if you weave late enough into the night, the goddess herself might guide your hands. Others say if you're too good, well, you might just catch the wrong kind of divine attention. Before we begin, if you find these stories relaxing or interesting, you can like, subscribe, share the video, or leave a comment to support the channel. Every bit of encouragement gives me the motivation to keep making videos every single day. Also, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I love knowing how far these sleepy tailies travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stroll down a narrow alley framed by fig trees and dusty walls, following the faint sound of loomwork. The women of the village are friendly enough, but there's a noticeable hush when you ask about a certain name, Arachne. Not fear exactly, more like respectful avoidance, the kind reserved for stories that still feel half true. Eventually, one elderly spinner nods toward the edge of the olive groves and mumbles something about threads that reach too far. The path narrows as you walk, stones giving way to packed earth and the occasional crabapple underfoot. The hum of village life fades behind you, replaced by birdsong and the rustle of dry leaves. There's something quietly magical about the moment you know the kind, where the air shifts slightly and even your breath feels like it's borrowed from another time. At the crest of a small hill, you spot a lone loom standing in the sunlight, weathered but still upright, almost as if someone might return any moment to pick up where they left off. The frame is carved with unfamiliar shapes, owls, spirals, and what looks suspiciously like a spider. You brush a bit of dirt away from the base, revealing a name, just barely visible in fading ink. Alpha Rho G Nu Ada. A cool breeze lifts the fringe of your shirt as if in approval. You sit beside the loom and run your fingers over the grooves of the wood. And just like that, the air thickens. Your mind drifts back not in imagination, but in presence to when this loom was new, when the village bustled with more than trade gossip and olive harvests. When Arachne's name wasn't whispered, but spoken with a kind of wide-eyed disbelief. You see her now, not as a monster or a cautionary tale, but as a girl, a weaver, a genius in thread, born not to nobility or divine favor, but to simple cloth workers whose fingers were always stained with indigo and whose backs, bent early from the labor of dye vats and warp-weighted looms. There's something easy about imagining her. Maybe it's the way the women at the market square spoke about her grudgingly admiring, like someone who made things look too effortless to be likable. Or maybe it's because deep down, you already know someone like her, the kind who's too gifted for their own good, too proud, too bold, too curious. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. You spend a while by the loom, watching the sun stretch shadows from the nearby fig trees. The smell of thyme and crushed olive pits wafts in the wind. Every so often, a spider scurries by. Not that you're worried. It seems fitting. Historians still debate whether Arachne was purely mythical or a real artisan whose legend took on divine dimensions. What's more certain is that weaving in her time wasn't just craft, it was identity. It meant warmth in winter, dowries at weddings, and stories told in wool instead of words. And oh, the stories they told, epic scenes woven into robes and wall hangings. Gods transformed into bulls, lovers turned into trees, tricksters punished or rewarded depending on who was threading the loom. Every twist of yarn was a kind of prayer or a challenge. Can you tell the story better than the last? Can your tapestry hold the gaze longer, draw more gasps? Back then, patterns weren't just pretty, they were sacred, even powerful. And the better the weaver, the more dangerous the game. So here you are, at the beginning of something soft and deadly. A thread just picked up. A girl you haven't yet met, but are about to walk beside. A goddess watching from afar, arms folded. And spiders? For now, they're just a quiet presence. But soon, they'll become something far more. Woven in. You descend the hill in a kind of haze. The sunlight soft around you. The breeze cool on your arms. It's hard to tell whether the air smells of warm stone or something older like parchment, beeswax, or old olive oil amphorae. Down below, the village continues its slow rhythm. You pass by a boy herding goats with a stick that's longer than he is tall. One goat breaks away, of course. He does this every time. The boy doesn't seem to mind. You pause by a carved fountain, its spout shaped like a lion's mouth, trickling spring water into a wide basin. You catch your reflection there, oddly ancient in this moment. And then soft footsteps, a shadow shifting near the courtyard. Someone's coming. Athena doesn't stride in like thunder. She doesn't need to be in. She's already here. You turn slowly, and there she is, though not in full regalia, of course. Not yet. She appears as she often does in mortal stories, cloaked in a shimmer of ordinariness. But even in disguise, there's something too poised about her posture, too calm in her gaze. Like a cat pretending to nap one ear, still twitching at every sound. She doesn't speak to you, not yet. She moves past, her sandals quiet on the dusty stones, her eyes scanning, weighing, remembering. She carries no shield, no owl on her shoulder, but you get the strong sense that she's both of those things in spirit. She is the watcher and the warrior. She is Athena. Now here's the thing. You may know Athena as the goddess of war, but not the loud, messy kind. That's Ares' domain. He's more blood and chaos, yelling in helmets. Athena? She's strategy. She's the part of war that involves planning, trickery, diplomacy, maps, and long games of psychological chess. But war is just a fraction of her resume. She's also the patron of wisdom, science, justice, mathematics, olive trees, city planning, and somewhat unexpectedly craftsmanship, especially weaving. In some ways, it makes perfect sense. Weaving is structure. It's patience, balance, precision. Every strand has a purpose. Every intersection matters. It's symmetry, harmony, and control. All the things Athena values most. You'd expect her to love spreadsheets if they existed. And while gods like Dionysus threw parties and Aphrodite took lovers, Athena honed skills. She built temples, designed armor, and according to some stories, once invented the flute. She promptly abandoned it when she saw her cheeks puff up unflatteringly while playing. Because even goddesses have their limits. There's a kind of lonely pride in Athena. You feel it now, watching her move through the village. She walks not like someone visiting, but like someone checking on her domain, careful, silent, assessing. She is not adored with flowers or dance like Demeter or Artemis. Her worship is quieter, more intellectual. Her temples are filled with philosophers and sculptors, not torchlit revelers. You follow her at a distance as she stops in front of a large doorway. Inside, women work at looms, their eyes downcast, hands moving automatically. The room is filled with the comforting rhythm of weaving, the clack of shuttles, the thump of beaters, the occasional soft cough. One older woman looks up and squints at Athena, who smiles just slightly in return. A flicker of recognition passes between them, but no one bows. Not yet. Maybe they don't know who she really is. Or maybe they do, and that's worse. Historians still debate whether Athena's association with weaving came from ancient rituals, a broader metaphor, or an actual pre-Olympian goddess of craft absorbed into her portfolio. But here, it doesn't matter. What matters is how deeply she's tied to the art. Weaving isn't just a pastime. It's an extension of her divinity. You hear one of the women murmur a name, Arachne, and Athena's head tilts. Now, if you're wondering why a goddess with dominion over cities and storms would care about a teenage weaver in a country village, you're not alone. But divine attention is rarely fair or proportionate. It's not about scale. It's about narrative tension. Arachne wasn't royalty. She wasn't descended from any gods, though some versions of the tale later tried to fudge that detail for politeness. She was just unreasonably good at weaving. So good, in fact, that people began to whisper and say outright that she must have been trained by Athena herself. At first, that seems like a compliment. But imagine being a goddess immortal, eternal, worshipped, and hearing that some mortal teen is not only matching you, but surpassing you. It stings, even if you're Athena, especially if you're Athena. The problem isn't just the skill, it's the attitude. Arachne is confident, maybe too confident. You know the type. She works like she's never doubted herself for a moment. Like excellence is just the default, and she starts saying it too. Not in secret, not in whispers, but out loud, that her talent is her own, that she owes nothing to any goddess. That's the spark. That's the match against divine pride. Athena doesn't lash out, not yet. No lightning bolts, no owls of doom, just curiosity. Or maybe something quieter and more dangerous in interest, because gods don't always punish right away. Sometimes they wait, they watch, and sometimes they walk into a village disguised as an old woman, just to ask a single question. Are you sure you want to say that out loud? You trail Athena as she steps away from the weaving room and disappears down a narrow alley where shadows fall longer than they should. You hesitate at the edge, hand brushing a wall still warm from the sun. This story, you realize, isn't just about punishment. It's about pride, craft, legacy, and what happens when the thread between gods and mortals gets pulled just a bit too tight. You feel the weight of the moment as Athena's footsteps fade into the distance, leaving behind only a faint ripple in the air. The village feels smaller now, as if it too is holding its breath, anticipating something more. The breeze shifts slightly, sending a swirl of dust into the alley behind you. You watch it settle, but it doesn't quite feel like the air you're used to. Everything feels still too still. You decide to follow Athena, though there's something in your chest urging you to hesitate. It's as though the universe, or perhaps the gods themselves, are holding you at the edge of a cliff. You start down the alley, your footsteps blending with hers, though you're not entirely sure what will happen next. At the end of the alley, you come upon a familiar square. There are people here, talking, shopping, laughing, arguing over prices. But none of them seem to notice Athena as she slips into the shadows of a nearby temple. This place, it's not like the others. The stone columns here are taller, the air heavier, and you feel an almost electric hum as you step across the threshold. It's as if something is waiting, and that something is Athena. She moves to a corner of the temple, where an old woman, someone you hadn't noticed before, sits knitting in the shade. The woman's face is lined with time, but there's a sharpness to her gaze that suggests she's seen more than her fair share of everything. Athena speaks to her softly, but even from where you stand, you can hear the flicker of tension in her voice. You've heard the stories, Athena says. The old woman nods, but she doesn't speak. Her fingers continue their work, the thread slipping through the needles with practiced ease. She doesn't look up at Athena, but there's something in the way she holds herself that seems to echo Athena's own quiet confidence. The girl in the village, Athena continues, the one who has begun to outshine me in skill. Do you think it's just about the weaving? The old woman tilts her head slightly, the barest of smiles playing on her lips. It's rarely just about the weaving, she replies, almost as if she knows something Athena doesn't. You take a step back, your mind racing. You're beginning to understand the tension that's building between Athena and Arachne. It's not just about the weaving, it's something much deeper. Athena's entire being is wrapped up in the art of craft, the pursuit of knowledge, and the creation of beauty. And Arachne, this mortal girl, has dared to challenge her, to claim that she can weave as well as the goddess of wisdom herself, perhaps even better. The old woman doesn't seem intimidated, though. She doesn't even seem all that interested in the argument between gods and mortals. Instead, she continues knitting, a slow and rhythmic movement that lulls you into a sense of calm, even as the conversation around you crackles with tension. Let me tell you a story, the old woman says, finally lifting her gaze to meet Athena's. Her eyes are sharp, like a hawk's, and they lock with the goddess's in a way that feels almost predatory. You may find it useful, though I'm not sure it'll help you sleep at night. Athena tilts her head, intrigued but not entirely convinced. You get the sense that this woman isn't someone Athena expects to meet often, if at all. And yet, here she is. You listen carefully, knowing that anything she says could be the key to understanding the next turn of events. There was once a weaver, the old woman begins, not unlike the one in the village. She was known for her skill, her speed, her elegance, but it was never enough for her. She was always looking for the next challenge, the next thing that would prove her superiority. She didn't care who she offended along the way. Her talent was all that mattered. But, she continues, her fingers working faster now, almost as though she's weaving her own tale. There came a time when her talent became her curse. She sought out the gods, looking to test her skill against theirs. She boasted of her creations, claiming that no one mortal or divine could ever weave better than she could. Athena listens intently now, her posture stiffening ever so slightly. Of course, the old woman says, her smile widening. The gods weren't too pleased with such a boast. And so, she was challenged. The gods offered her a contest, just as you offer your contest with Arachne. But this weaver, unlike the girl in the village, had no true humility. She only cared for the praise, for the title of being the best. The old woman pauses, her gaze piercing Athena's. And what happened to her? The smile on the old woman's face fades, and for a moment, you wonder if she's speaking about something far older than any mortal story. She lost herself. Not because she lost the contest, but because she didn't understand what it meant to be truly great. Athena stands silently for a moment, contemplating the story. You watch her, studying her expression. She's not angry, but she is thoughtful. For the first time, you wonder if she's not just concerned with Arachne's talent, but with what the talent might cost her. And as you stand there, feeling the weight of the moment, you can't help but wonder what will happen next. Will Athena, in her quiet, calculating way, offer Arachne a chance to learn? Or will the rivalry between them grow into something far darker? You know that the thread between mortals and gods is delicate, and once pulled too tightly, it could snap in ways no one expects. The air feels thicker now, heavy with the weight of impending decisions. Athena's silhouette lingers in the temple doorway, but her gaze remains far away, as though looking at something beyond the present. The old woman continues her slow, methodical knitting, almost as if she's weaving time itself with her hands. You shift uncomfortably, unsure whether to leave or to stay hidden, watching this quiet exchange between the goddess and the old woman. Athena's expression is unreadable, but you sense that something's changed. The challenge between the mortal and divine no longer feels like a mere rivalry. It feels like a test not just for Arachne, but for Athena as well. There's something almost wistful in Athena's voice when she finally speaks again, her words almost lost in the creaking silence of the temple. Do you think I've ever been truly tested? She asks, as though the question isn't meant for the old woman at all. Can one ever be tested when the rules are always stacked in their favor? The old woman looks up from her knitting, eyes narrowing slightly. The gods may be eternal, but that doesn't mean they aren't fragile. Just because something is divine doesn't mean it's invulnerable. Test yourself, Athena. You've seen that even the greatest weaver can falter if they aren't careful. Athena's lips press together, but she doesn't reply immediately. It's as if she's weighing the truth in those words against everything she has ever known. The air around you seems to thrum, and you feel the weight of the question settle deep within your chest. For the first time, Athena looks mortal. Her eyes soften with something like doubt, and her usual confidence falters just the slightest bit. This is the moment that shifts everything. The gods aren't as untouchable as they appear. Even they can be vulnerable to the same forces that govern mortal lives. The old woman smiles again, her work nearly complete. You've always prided yourself on your wisdom, but wisdom isn't about being infallible. It's about knowing when to step aside and let the thread unravel. There's something about this advice that sticks with you. Maybe because, in some ways, it echoes your own fears. The idea that perfection, or the pursuit of it, can be a trap. Athena has spent eons mastering the arts of war, wisdom, and craft, and yet here she stands, uncertain. The challenge from a mortal, a mere weaver, threatens her belief that control is all there is. It's humbling, and perhaps that's exactly what she needs. But this moment, as fleeting as it is, passes quickly. Athena's posture stiffens once again, her gaze sharpening as if she's made a decision. The gods, after all, don't linger in doubt for long. They act. Without a word, she turns and exits the temple, the echo of her sandals on stone sounding like the beginning of something inevitable. The old woman doesn't follow her with her eyes, as if she's already seen the outcome. You linger, unsure of what to do, as the village seems to hold its breath in anticipation. The contest between Athena and Arachne is no longer about weaving. It's become something deeper, more personal. Athena's pride, her immortality, and her need to be the best have collided with the raw, unbridled talent of a mortal girl who's so sure of her craft, she's willing to challenge the gods themselves. The stage is set, and it's only a matter of time before the contest begins. But what does this mean for Arachne? You find yourself wondering, as you walk back toward the village, what it feels like to be the one challenging a goddess. Does she know the gravity of the moment? Or is she too caught up in her own pride to see what's at stake? You can't shake the thought that Arachne's fate is already sealed. Athena doesn't lose, not really. But you also wonder if this might not be a contest that anyone can truly win. As you walk through the village, the air feels lighter, but the tension hasn't left. You can sense it building, like the wind before a storm. And though you can't see it yet, you know that the threads are slowly tightening, weaving themselves into a pattern you won't be able to escape from. Whatever happens next, it won't be just about art or craft. It will be about something much more fundamental, something that could change both gods and mortals forever. By the time you reach the village square, you're sure of one thing. The loom is set, the threads drawn taut, and soon Arachne and Athena will face each other, not just in skill, but in the struggle for something far greater than mere perfection. You pause at the edge of the square, your eyes on the loom in the distance. The weaving of fate, it seems, is about to begin. The village square looks different today. There's a quiet buzz in the air, the kind of excitement that's hard to place. The dust seems a little thicker, as if it's holding its breath too. Children skip past you, eyes wide with curiosity. It's clear that something important is coming. Athena's presence is like a shadow over the village now, palpable even in her absence. There's a murmuring among the villagers as they pass by the square, and it's not just about the weather or the harvest. No, today, the focus has shifted. Today, the village is waiting. As you move through the crowd, your eyes fall on the loom again, standing solitary in the center of the square. It's quiet now, but you can almost hear the tension in the wooden frame, the way it holds the threads as if it knows what's to come. The space around it begins to clear. People are stepping back, forming an almost invisible circle, the edges drawn taut like the strings of a bow. They know whatever is about to happen, it will be monumental. And in this quiet, unassuming place, it's hard to believe that the fate of two beings, one mortal and one divine, could be decided by something as simple as weaving. But that's how it works with the gods, isn't it? They aren't swayed by the same forces that govern the mortal world. For them, even the smallest gesture can carry the weight of the cosmos. Arachne stands before the loom now, her hands resting lightly on the frame. She's taller than you expected, with a confidence that seems to radiate from her. Her gaze is steady, calm, focused. She's not worried about the gods, at least, not outwardly. You can see the way her fingers twitch, a small tremor of excitement, or perhaps something else. She doesn't glance around, not once. It's clear she's come to do one thing and one thing only, prove herself. And prove herself she will, if her skill is anything to go by. She's ready for this, maybe more than anyone could understand. Then, without warning, Athena arrives. There's no grand entrance, no thunderous applause. She steps into the circle of spectators as quietly as the first light of dawn, her gaze fixed on the loom. She surveys the crowd with the practiced calm of someone who has seen and done it all. Athena does not need to announce herself. Her mere presence commands attention. Her silence speaks volumes. The crowd, to their credit, doesn't dare utter a word. They watch as Athena approaches the loom and places her hands gently upon it. There's no grand gesture, no divine flash. Just a slight nod to Arachne, who nods back with equal gravity. This is a contest not just of skill, but of pride, both theirs and the pride of the gods themselves. Athena's fingers are delicate as they trace the threads, her eyes moving over the loom as if memorizing every inch of it, every strand, every possibility. For a moment, she almost seems lost in thought. You wonder what she's thinking. Is it strategy? Is it something more? Then the contest begins. There's no timekeeper, no judge. Only the loom, the threads, and the quiet rhythm of weaving. Athena's movements are smooth and sure, her hands steady with the knowledge of years, centuries, even. She's not rushing, not forcing her hand. She's a master at this. Each pull of the thread seems effortless, each knot a calculated decision. The design begins to take shape under her hands, slow but methodical. Arachne doesn't hesitate. The second Athena's hands move, Arachne's follow. Her fingers are nimble, quick. She's not as deliberate as Athena, but there's a fire in her movements, a burst of passion that seems to breathe life into the loom itself. You watch, fascinated, as her design unfurls at a faster pace. She's weaving with the kind of abandon that comes from someone who has no fear of failure. She's not just weaving for the gods, she's weaving to make a statement, to claim what is hers. The crowd watches spellbound. The tension is palpable. You can almost taste it, that feeling in the air before the storm hits. The contest is unfolding, and it feels like time itself has slowed, like the world is waiting for the final thread to be pulled, the last knot to be tied. As the two women weave, you start to notice the differences in their work. Athena's design is precise, sharp lines, clean shapes, a tapestry of order. It's a vision of clarity, of wisdom. It's what you'd expect from the goddess of strategy and craft. There's no room for mistakes, no room for chaos. It's beautiful in its calm. But Arachne's tapestry is different. Her work is alive, vibrant, chaotic, full of twists and turns. There's an almost wild quality to it, an energy that Athena's lacks. It's a tapestry of rebellion, of freedom, of a mortal daring to challenge the gods themselves. Her hands move faster now, almost feverishly, as if the loom itself is urging her on. Historians still debate whether it was skill or hubris that made Arachne's tapestry so dangerous. Some say it was the sheer audacity of the design, a reflection of her defiance. Others claim it was the raw talent, the gift of a mortal who had no understanding of what it meant to challenge a god. Whatever the reason, Arachne's work takes on a life of its own, its intricate patterns so stunning that even the gods pause for a moment to admire it. But admiration won't save her. The weaving continues, hours slipping by unnoticed. The sun dips lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the loom, but the two women don't pause. Not once. There's no need for words between them. Their hands are the only language they need. The design of the tapestries grows clearer now. You can see the story unfolding in both. And you're left wondering, how far will they go? Will Athena, in the end, let the mortal have her victory? Or will the pride of the gods demand retribution? The sun is nearly set, the sky a fading canvas of pink and gold, but the loom remains under the tension of every thread. The village square has fallen into a hushed reverence. You could hear a pin drop, or perhaps more fittingly, the subtle creak of the loom's frame under the weight of the weaver's work. The wind has died down, and even the birds seem to hold their breath. Arachne and Athena continue, weaving side by side, their tapestries taking shape with almost unbearable intensity. Time seems to stretch, bending with each pull of thread, each knot tied. The crowd is barely breathing, their eyes darting between the two women, not daring to blink for fear of missing something crucial. Arachne's design is full of movement. Figures dance, snakes coil in the folds, gods and mortals locked in an eternal struggle of beauty and power. There are images of creatures that do not belong to the mortal world, cunning, mysterious things that only a true weaver of fate could imagine. The edges of the tapestry almost seem to shimmer, alive with the energy of the threads themselves. In contrast, Athena's work is calculated, precise. The gods and goddesses in her tapestry stand perfectly still, their faces serene, their eyes unblinking. There's an order to the design, a balance that mirrors Athena's own philosophy of the world. There are no creatures of chaos in Athena's tapestry. Everything is as it should be. There are no wild strokes of genius, here only measured beauty, as if Athena has carefully woven every part of herself into it, leaving no room for error. Every thread, every loop, every twist is an embodiment of divine control. And yet, in that perfect calmness, you begin to notice something else. Athena's tapestry, while beautiful, lacks life. There's no movement in it, no spark of passion. It's too ordered, too perfect. It's a vision of the world as Athena believes it should be structured, stable, and unyielding. But it feels static. And in that stillness, you start to feel the creeping sensation that maybe, just maybe, Arachne's chaotic masterpiece has more to offer than Athena's picture of order. You glance at the crowd. Even they seem aware of this subtle shift. There's a murmur, not of judgment, but of recognition. Arachne's work is stirring something in them. There's a tension in the air that Athena's design, for all its divine grace, can't quite reach. And yet, despite all of this, Athena is still the goddess. She's still the one who holds the weight of the heavens, the one who commands armies and designs cities. Arachne, in her mortal skin, has no such power. She cannot compete with Athena in the grand scheme of things. But right now, in this moment, under the weight of the loom, neither Athena nor Arachne can back down. The question isn't about skill anymore. It's about who gets to control the narrative, who gets to write the story. Historians have long debated whether the contest was always intended to be a tragedy or whether it could have ended peacefully. Some say Athena challenged Arachne to humble her, to remind her that no mortal, no matter how talented, could ever surpass a goddess. Others believe that Athena was merely curious about the talent, curious about the audacity, and curious about how someone so mortal could dare to challenge a deity so effortlessly. Athena might have simply wanted to see if a mortal could match her skill, perhaps out of a desire for challenge or amusement. But now, as the tapestries grow nearer to completion, it's impossible to deny that there's a deeper struggle here. It's no longer just about weaving. There's a shift in Athena's posture. You feel it before you see it. She pauses just for a second. A slight hesitation, as though something has caught her attention. Her fingers still over a thread, and her eyes narrow, scanning the patterns in Arachne's tapestry. Arachne, on the other hand, doesn't pause. She's weaving faster now, as though time itself is rushing through her hands. And with every movement, her tapestry grows more intricate, more wild. There's an energy in her hands now that makes the weaving look effortless, as though she's drawing from some deeper, untapped source of inspiration. You can see the sweat on her brow, but she doesn't seem to care. She's lost in the art, her focus so absolute that the rest of the world could fall away, and she wouldn't notice. But there's something Athena sees now, something that catches her eye, a subtle, quiet mockery in Arachne's work. Arachne's tapestry is beautiful, yes, but there's something else woven in there, something daring, something that shouldn't be there. Athena's gaze sharpens as she looks at the threads. They're not just images of gods and mortals. No, Arachne has woven something else into the tapestry, something that's unsettling. Hidden within the folds of the design is a series of small, delicate creatures, spiders, dozens of them, woven so seamlessly into the work that they almost look like part of the pattern itself. At first, it's subtle. You almost miss them if you're not paying attention. But then you see them, a tiny spider, curled in the corner of a cloud. Another, hanging from the web of a divine figure, as if it's caught in the goddess's hair. A third, crawling across the body of a mortal, its legs stretching out in strange angles. It's a small thing at first, but it's there. And Athena sees it. Her expression darkens. The challenge has been set in motion. Athena doesn't need to say a word. The spiders in Arachne's tapestry are a reminder, a challenge of their own. A statement that Arachne is not just playing with thread, she's playing with fate. And in doing so, she has unwittingly crossed a line. Arachne doesn't notice yet. She's too caught up in the rush of creation to sense the subtle shift in Athena's gaze. But soon she will. Athena will not let this go. The punishment has already been decided, and it's only a matter of when she will reveal it. The contest, it seems, is over. The air in the square has shifted again, this time heavier, darker. You feel it in the way the wind picks up, and how the once idyllic village scene now feels like the prelude to a storm. The weavings continue, but the energy has changed. What once felt like a friendly contest of skill now feels like a battle of wills, a struggle between pride, fate, and power. Athena's gaze never leaves Arachne's tapestry, her sharp eyes focused on the spiders woven into the design. It's as though she's seeing only them now, unable to look past the audacious twist in the mortal's work. And then, with a sound like the first crack of thunder, Athena speaks. "You've woven a fine tapestry, Arachne," she says, her voice calm, almost too calm. "But there is one flaw in your work, one thread too far." Arachne doesn't stop weaving. She doesn't even glance up. There's a flicker of defiance in her movements, as if she knows something Athena doesn't. The crowd is silent, waiting for the next words to fall, and you can feel the collective breath held by everyone watching. They're all wondering, what will happen now? "You've woven more than just gods and mortals," Athena continues, her voice growing colder, sharper. "You've woven mockery into your tapestry. These spiders," she gestures to the image that has started to glow faintly in the dimming light of the square, "are not your craft. They are an insult to the gods. There's a long, pregnant silence as the words sink in. Arachne's fingers move, but they're slower now, the tension in the air stealing her rhythm. She looks up for the first time, her eyes locking with Athena's. "What is it, then, that you accuse me of?" Arachne's voice is low, but her defiance cuts through the silence. "I have woven a masterpiece, one that even the gods cannot deny." Athena's face tightens, the muscles in her jaw twitching. "You mock me, mortal. You mock the gods with these creatures, weaving them into a pattern that should only belong to us. The gods in the tapestry are perfectly poised, their divine forms captured in flawless detail. But those spiders, those little creatures, so out of place in the divine world, are the center of the conflict now." Athena's fury is palpable, and the crowd can feel it too, like the electric charge before a lightning strike. You wonder what it must feel like to stand in front of a goddess when she's truly angry. It must feel like the weight of the world, the air pressing down so heavily that it's hard to breathe. Arachne stands her ground. "Spiders are not a mockery," she replies, her voice rising in both defiance and confusion. "They are creatures of the earth. They spin webs to trap what's fleeting and fragile. Why should they not be part of the tapestry? Aren't we all just threads in the web of the gods? We're all caught in something, aren't we?" Athena's eyes flash with a mixture of anger and something deeper, something ancient. The challenge has gone beyond art now. It's about order. Mortals are not supposed to defy the divine so directly, especially in such a public way. Athena has spent eons crafting the very fabric of the world. And here's Arachne, weaving her own version of it, one that includes the very thing Athena controls: fate. Arachne's words hang in the air, ringing with a truth Athena cannot ignore. The gods themselves are not exempt from the fragility of life. The gods weave and mortals weave. But Arachne's weaving has challenged the very nature of that hierarchy. She's not just creating art, she's creating a new story, one where gods and mortals are intertwined in a way that Athena cannot accept. Athena looks down at her own tapestry, her gaze heavy as she examines the divine images she has created. The gods in her work are timeless, powerful, impervious to change. But then she turns her gaze to Arachne's tapestry, and that's where her eyes linger longest. The spiders, the creatures that crawl along the surface of the divine, the ones that remind Athena of something she's tried to ignore for too long. In that moment, you realize that this contest has never been about the quality of the weaving. It's about control. Athena, for all her power, has been tested in a way she hasn't been in centuries. Arachne's tapestry, with its rebellious creatures and wild patterns, represents something Athena can't quite grasp: imperfection, chaos, unpredictability. And those things are terrifying to a goddess like her. And so, Athena does what she does best. She makes her decision. "Since you insist on challenging the gods with your art," she says, her voice now low and dangerous, "I will give you a punishment that reflects your work. You will be transformed, not into a mortal, but into something even more fitting for your pride." The crowd gasps as Athena raises her hand. The energy around her shifts, crackling with divine power. The air grows heavy with a strange tension, the kind that wraps around you like a dense fog. You feel it in the pit of your stomach, the sense that everything is about to change forever. Arachne's eyes widen in shock, but she doesn't back down. Her hands stop moving, frozen in midair, and for a moment, you see the full weight of the goddess's wrath fall on her. Athena's eyes narrow, her lips curling into a slow, deliberate smile. "You will become what you have woven," Athena intones. A spider. With a flick of her wrist, the threads of Arachne's tapestry seem to come alive. You hear the soft rustling of silk, the crackle of divine magic, and before you can even blink, the transformation begins. Arachne's body shrinks, her limbs curling in on themselves as her face twists into something strange and unrecognizable. She falls to the ground, her body now a mass of legs, her skin now covered in silk. The crowd is silent, shocked into stillness. You can hear the soft rustling of Arachne's new form, the faint scratching of her new limbs against the earth as she tries to move, to understand what has happened to her. Her once human eyes are wide, filled with confusion and fear. But Athena stands tall, her eyes calm, watching the transformation unfold with a quiet, unyielding finality. "I warned you, mortal," Athena says softly. "Even gods are not immune to the consequences of their pride." And with that, Arachne, the greatest weaver of all, is now bound to the earth in the form of a spider, destined to spin webs forever caught in a web of her own making. The silence in the village square is suffocating. You stand at the edge of the crowd, your heart beating in time with the rustling sound that now fills the air. The transformation has happened too swiftly, too suddenly. One moment, Arachne was standing proudly, a mortal challenger with more talent than most gods would dare to admit. The next moment, she is sprawled on the ground, her limbs twisted and elongated, her face now an unfamiliar shape, her eyes still full of human consciousness, but locked in the form of a creature she once probably never imagined. The crowd remains frozen. Some stare in wide-eyed horror, others avert their gaze, unsure of what to make of the scene. You can't tear your eyes away from the small, now arachnid figure wiggling helplessly on the ground. Her body is a grotesque fusion of silk and legs, her once hands now delicate spindly limbs. The very essence of her art, the tapestry she had woven, has taken on a life of its own. Athena's punishment is cruel, but it is inescapable. Arachne is condemned to spin webs forever, locked in a form that mirrors the essence of her challenge to the gods. Athena watches without emotion as Arachne struggles to understand what has just happened. There's no sympathy in the goddess's eyes, no second thought. Her judgment has been delivered, and it is final. You watch as Arachne, now a creature that can only move in slow, deliberate motions, begins to weave a web in the dirt beneath her. She does so with a speed and precision that mimics the art she once created, but now it is a trap, a symbol of her fate. The strands of her web are long and delicate, the texture of silk shimmering even under the fading sun. The transformation is complete, but you can't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. Arachne's gaze, human and full of thought, never leaves the tapestry she once created now, a cruel reminder of her punishment. It is as if she's still trapped in that moment, still battling with Athena's overwhelming power, but now with no voice to argue, no form to challenge. Instead, she is weaving in silence, caught in the quiet despair of her own creation. You feel the shift in the air again, a change that comes with the fall of Athena's wrath. The crowd, still stunned, begins to stir, whispering among themselves. There are no cheers, no celebrations, only hushed conversations as people move away from the square. Some of them are fearful, some uncertain. A mortal has been punished, yes, but at what cost? There's something unsettling about it, the finality of it, the way Athena has reduced Arachne to a mere creature, forever bound to the loom of fate she herself created. You glance at Athena one more time. She stands tall, her eyes now softer, though still cold. She has made her decision, as she watches as Arachne's tiny body shifts in the dirt, weaving her endless web. The punishment was harsh, but it was also necessary, as if Athena had no choice but to show that mortals could not stand against gods without consequence. In Athena's eyes, this was a lesson, a warning. Pride is not something the gods tolerate, and for Arachne, the cost of her hubris is eternal. Historians still debate what happened after that. Some say Arachne never gave up her weaving, spinning webs in despair for all eternity. Others claim that over time, she grew into her new form, her webs becoming more than just traps, evolving into a symbol of something greater, a representation of the divine and mortal threads that bind the world together. Perhaps in her punishment, she found a strange sense of freedom, embracing the very thing that had once driven her to challenge Athena in the first place. But for now, as the last light of day fades into night, there is no more conversation. There are no more words of challenge, no more defiance. Just silence and the faint sound of Arachne's webs being spun, her small body moving in slow, deliberate motions, forever bound to her art. You start to leave, but something pulls you back. The sound of the wind shifting, the fluttering of leaves, the whisper of fate. There is something about this moment that lingers with you. You wonder if the gods truly learn from their actions. You wonder if Athena, in her divine wisdom, will look back and ever question whether the punishment was too great, or if Arachne, in her endless weaving, might find peace with her fate. But it's not your place to question. The gods make their decisions, and mortals must live with them. As you walk away, the light of the evening moon casts a soft glow on the square, the loom now empty, the place where the contest once unfolded now quiet and still. You wonder if anyone will remember Arachne as she was before the punishment, the mortal girl who dared to challenge the gods, whose pride led her down a path from which there was no return. Or will she be remembered only as the spider, the endless weaver, whose work never ended, whose art was both her triumph and her downfall? And as you step away, the sound of the wind carries something else, a whisper, perhaps from the divine or from the mortal world. It's hard to say, but in that quiet night, you feel it. It's as if the threads of fate, the ones Athena wove and Arachne defied, are still pulling at you, reminding you that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what path you walk, the gods are never far away, their influence always lingering in the air. You leave the square behind, but the webs are still there woven into the fabric of the universe itself, and you can't help but wonder, are we all just threads in a larger tapestry, caught in something we can never truly escape? As you walk further into the village, the weight of what you've just witnessed presses down on your shoulders like a heavy cloak. The silence follows you, an uncomfortable companion that you can't quite shake. There's an uneasiness in the air, something shifted here today, something fundamental about the balance between gods and mortals, between art and power. You pass through the narrow streets, still quiet, but there's a new layer to the village's calm, like the world is holding its breath. You wonder if anyone else feels it too, the weight of the divine, the consequences of challenging something so ancient. The villagers seem to carry on with their daily lives, but you sense the underlying change. Even the goats, once so carefree, seem to move more slowly, as if sensing the tension in the air. You approach the small, simple shrine at the edge of the village, where the offerings to the gods are left small statues of Athena, olive branches, and bowls of wine. But today, there's something different about the shrine. The air here is still, and as you kneel to offer your respects, you feel an odd, almost invisible thread pull at you. It's faint but unmistakable, a reminder that the gods are never truly far, that their presence lingers in ways you can't always see, but always feel. You close your eyes for a moment, inhaling the air thick with the scent of olive oil and wine. The village, quiet as it is, seems to whisper around you. You think of Arachne, her delicate form now a creature of silk and legs, her once human pride now lost in the endless loop of spinning. What will become of her now? Will she remain a prisoner of her art forever? Will her threads of fate, once so intricately woven with defiance, now bind her eternally to the earth in the shape of a spider? You can't help but wonder what it must be like for her, to know that every web she spins is both her art and her punishment, an endless cycle she can never escape. You open your eyes and stand, the soft crackle of the shrine's offerings beneath your feet as you rise. The world outside seems unchanged, but you know it isn't. Something has broken something fundamental between gods and mortals. Arachne's tapestry was not just an act of defiance. It was a challenge to the very nature of fate itself. And now, Athena has woven a new ending for her, a punishment so final that it echoes through the corridors of myth. You glance over your shoulder one last time at the loom in the village square. It stands there, quiet and still now, like a monument to what has happened. There's no sound from the square, no sign of the contest. The weavers have returned to their homes, the village life picking up once again, as if nothing extraordinary has occurred. But the tapestry remains, woven into the very fabric of the world, a reminder that pride, no matter how skilled or daring, can lead to the strangest of consequences. You begin to walk away, the evening air cool against your skin. The village is no longer the same, but in its quiet way, it moves forward. You think about how stories are told, about how myths are shaped by the hands of those who dare to create them. Arachne may have lost the contest, but her name will live on, etched into the very weave of fate, even if she herself will never know freedom again. And yet, there's a part of you that wonders if Arachne is still weaving in some distant corner of the world. Is she still trapped in the endless cycles of her own creation? Or has something else, something deeper, been woven into her fate? The thought lingers in your mind as the last light of the day fades into a deep, soft blue. But you don't linger on it long. You've learned something in these past hours, a lesson not just about gods and mortals, but about the power of creation. Athena, for all her wisdom, still has her own flaws. Even she is vulnerable to the same forces she seeks to control. And Arachne, in her defiance, has woven herself into the very fabric of the world in a way Athena could never have anticipated. There is a beauty in that, you realize. A beauty in the unyielding nature of art, and the price that sometimes must be paid for it. For Arachne, it was a punishment. For others, it may be a reward. The web she has woven is one that extends far beyond her own life, beyond even the realm of the gods. It's a thread that connects us all, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. And as you step away from the village, the night settling in around you, you wonder how many other threads are out there, waiting to be woven by those who dare to challenge fate. You hear the wind whisper through the trees, soft and low, and you can almost hear Arachne's voice in it, calling out not in anger, but in something deeper, something like understanding. And as the darkness fully takes hold, you realize that some stories never truly end. They simply keep spinning, carried along by the unseen threads that tie us all together. The night feels deep as you continue walking away from the village, the shadows stretching longer with each step. The stars are bright above you, scattered across the velvet sky like glittering beads in a vast tapestry. The air is cool, and the silence around you is almost sacred, like the calm after a storm. There is a weight to this quiet one that carries 1,000 unspoken thoughts, 1,000 unanswered questions. You think back to the village square, to the moment when Athena's punishment fell upon Arachne, and her body twisted into the form of a spider. The image of the creature, caught in her own web of fate, lingers in your mind. But so too does the memory of her defiance, the spark that drove her to challenge the gods. For all her transformation, for all the cruelty of Athena's judgment, there's a strange kind of admiration that lingers in your thoughts. Arachne didn't bow. She didn't beg. She stood firm, woven in the fabric of her own creation, like the threads of her tapestry unbroken, at least in spirit. As you walk, your footsteps echo softly in the night, but in your mind, another sound lingers, the sound of spinning. The rustle of silk, the soft, rhythmic whisper of a spider weaving. It's a sound that carries across time, across the ages, a reminder of the legacy that Arachne leaves behind. Her punishment is eternal, but so is her art. Perhaps in her webs, she's found a strange freedom. The act of weaving may be her prison, but it also holds within it a form of creation, a way to leave her mark on the world, even as the gods look away. And the gods do look away, don't they? Athena may have cast her judgment, but she has also set something in motion that she didn't fully understand. The webs Arachne spins are not merely traps or punishment. They are symbols of what happens when someone, even a mortal, heirs to challenge the divine. They are the traces of a spirit that refuses to fade, even when bound to the earth. You stop walking, suddenly aware of the stillness around you. The night is full of possibility, full of the threads that connect every being, every moment. You wonder if Arachne, in her endless weaving, has become part of the very fabric of the world. Perhaps the thread she spins will one day catch something more than just the wind. Perhaps they will catch the imagination of those who dare to see beyond the surface of things. Those who understand that fate is not a simple line, but a web of connections. All of us bound together, for better or worse. The village is far behind now, and you stand alone under the vast sky. There's a strange peace in the night, a peace that seems to wrap around you like a blanket. The stars above twinkle with an ancient light, and the air hums with the quiet sound of the world turning, just as it always has. You think of Athena, again, of her poem, Calculating Nature, her need for control. She is a goddess of wisdom. Yes, but even wisdom cannot foresee every outcome. Her pride, though vast and eternal, is not without its cracks. She has punished Arachne, but in doing so, she has also created something that no god can undo. A story that will never fade, a legacy that will endure far longer than even her divine power. For all of Athena's control, she couldn't stop Arachne from weaving her place in history. And what of Arachne now, in her endless form? You imagine her small body scurrying across the earth, weaving webs that stretch out across the land. It's not just a punishment, is it? It's her art, her vision. In a strange way, Athena's curse has forced Arachne to become the eternal weaver bound to her craft forever. But perhaps it's in this very act of creation that Arachne finds her freedom. For no punishment can erase the mark of an artist who dares to create something new, something wild, something uncontrollable. You breathe in the night air, and for a moment, you think you hear the faintest whisper in the wind, a voice carried on the breeze. Is it Arachne's? Is it the sound of her spinning? Still weaving, still challenging the gods in her own way? You smile, not because you know the answer, but because you sense the truth of it, that stories never end. They are like threads in a tapestry, each one pulling at the next, each one connected to the other. As the night deepens, you begin to feel the pull of sleep. The quiet of the world settles around you, and you find comfort in the idea that perhaps, in some small way, Arachne's spirit is still alive, still weaving her fate into the world. Her threads, though invisible, are still there, tying us all together in the web of life, fate, and creation. With the stars overhead and the night around you, you finally close your eyes, feeling the weight of the day lift from your shoulders. In the silence, you let go of your thoughts, knowing that some stories, like the threads of a web, never truly end. They simply continue to weave, over and over again, each turn, each twist, building something larger than we can ever truly comprehend. And with that, you drift off, knowing that the tapestry of life, like Arachne's webs, is never as simple as it seems. It's always more intricate, more beautiful, more connected than we could ever imagine. The wind stirs softly around you, a lullaby for the mind, as you drift further into the night. The stars continue their silent dance overhead, and the world around you seems to slip into a kind of deep slumber, like a sea of tranquility that surrounds everything. The quiet whispers of the evening are gentle, weaving through the branches of the trees like threads in a grand, invisible loom. As you fall deeper into the embrace of sleep, your thoughts, though hazy, return once more to Arachne. You wonder if, in her endless weaving, she has found a sense of peace, if perhaps the webs she spins are no longer just a curse, but an expression of something beyond punishment. You can almost hear the soft sound of silk moving, the delicate brushing of threads against the earth. In your dreams, you find yourself walking through a darkened forest, lit only by the moon's pale light. In the distance, there's a faint, familiar shimmer, and you follow it, curious, as it seems to call to you. As you approach, you see them dozens, hundreds of webs, each one unique, intricate, and alive with motion. You move closer, entranced by their beauty, and it's then you realize that these webs are not just traps for prey, but masterpieces, each one woven with purpose, each thread delicate and purposeful. There's something mesmerizing about the way they stretch out into the night, connecting trees, branches, and the very air itself. The wind picks up, and the webs shimmer, almost as if they are alive. You stand still, watching as a lone figure emerges from the shadows. Arachne, no longer a creature of fear or punishment, but a being of grace, her delicate form skittering gracefully across the threads she has spun. Her movements are fluid. Confident she is in her element now, no longer bound by the constraints of her punishment, but embracing the art of creation in a way that only she could. You watch as she moves from web to web, her legs brushing softly against the threads, her eyes filled with an almost serene focus. There's no fear, no anger, only a sense of connection, a harmony between her and the work she's created. She is the weaver now, yes, but she is also the muse. She has become one with the very thing that once sought to bind her. The wind carries a whisper again, and you realize that it's not just Arachne who has found her place here. It's you too. The threads that connect her to the world, to fate, and to creation are the same threads that tie you to this dream, to this moment. You are not just an observer of her punishment. You are a part of the story, woven into the fabric of it. The line between dream and reality blurs as you stand there in the quiet depths of the forest, watching as Arachne's work grows, expands, and touches everything around it. There's a sense of peace here, unlike anything you've felt before. The night, the webs, the quiet movement of Arachne, all of it feels woven together, as if everything is exactly as it should be. And in this dream, you understand something deeper about the nature of art, of punishment, and of fate. Arachne's curse was not just a punishment, it was a transformation. She has become something more than mortal, more than divine. She is a weaver of destiny, and in her hands, the threads of the universe are constantly shifting, constantly evolving. And you realize, with a gentle sigh, that Arachne is not alone. Her weaving is not just a solitary act, it's a shared experience. You are a part of it too. The web of life, fate, and creation stretches out in all directions, and you, like everyone else, are a thread in it. No one is separate from the weaving. No one is beyond the reach of the loom. The wind dies down, and the forest falls silent once more, but the webs remain, glistening in the moonlight, suspended in the air like a vast, delicate network of dreams. You stand there, a part of the world, a part of the tapestry, knowing that some stories, some threads, will never end. They will simply continue to weave themselves through time and space, through gods and mortals, through every moment of life. And as the night deepens around you, you feel yourself pulled back from the dream, the soft pull of sleep taking you once more. But even as you slip away from the dream, you know that Arachne is still there, still weaving, still creating her story far from over, her legacy far from complete. In that moment, you feel the threads of fate, the threads of art, and the threads of life itself, weaving together in a tapestry too vast for anyone to truly understand. And maybe that's the beauty of it. No one can ever truly unravel the web. It simply continues endlessly, beautifully, forever. The silence grows deeper, and the world fades into peaceful rest. The wind, the webs, the tapestry, they all become one with the night. And so you drift off, knowing that some stories, no matter how ancient, will always find their way back to you. You wake up slowly, the early morning light filtering through the curtains, soft and golden. The dream lingers in the back of your mind like a whisper, like the remnants of a song you can't quite place. You stretch, and for a moment, the world feels new, as if the threads of fate themselves have woven you into a different reality. The warmth of the morning sun on your face feels almost like a promise, a quiet reassurance that everything is somehow connected, even when we don't see it. You sit up and look around the room, the familiar surroundings grounding you back in the present. But even as you take in the simple details, the soft creak of the wooden floorboards, the quiet hum of the world outside, you can't help but feel that strange peace that came over you in the dream. The dream of Arachne, the weaver who was both punished and transformed, who became a part of something much larger than herself. It's a story that seems to stay with you, even now that the sun is up and the day is beginning. You find yourself thinking of Arachne again, her delicate form now bound to the earth in a never-ending cycle of creation. But unlike the initial sense of pity you felt, now you wonder if her punishment is truly a punishment at all. In her new form, she is free to weave the world around her, to create something that will last far beyond her mortal existence. She is no longer bound by the limitations of time or space. Instead, she is part of something eternal, a weaver of fate, of art, of life. You step outside, the morning air cool and fresh, and for a moment you stand there listening to the world. Birds are singing, the trees sway gently in the breeze, and the soft rustle of the leaves seems to mirror the quiet movement of the webs Arachne spins. It's as if the entire world is woven together, each thread a part of a grand design. And in this moment, you realize something, that we are all part of this tapestry. We are all connected in ways we can't always understand, but that doesn't make it any less real. As you walk through the day, you catch glimpses of the world around you in a different light. The way the sunlight catches the branches of trees, the way the clouds drift across the sky, the way people's lives intersect in subtle, unseen ways. It's like the web of fate is constantly shifting, constantly evolving, and we're all woven into it, whether we realize it or not. And you wonder how many others out there, like Arachne, are creating their own tapestries? How many are weaving the threads of their lives, unaware of the larger design they are part of? You think of all the stories that go untold, all the lives that go unnoticed, and yet they are all connected, all part of the same grand web. The day passes in a blur, but the thought of Arachne and her endless weaving stays with you. In the quiet moments when you pause and take in the world, you find yourself thinking about how much of life is like weaving, how every choice, every action, every word is a thread that becomes a part of something larger. How in the end, it's not about how long we live, but about the mark we leave, the threads we weave into the tapestry of life. As evening falls, the world takes on a different hue. The sky is painted with shades of orange and pink, and the first stars begin to emerge. The night feels different, more alive with possibilities, like a new canvas waiting to be filled with stories. You sit outside, feeling the cool air on your skin, and think about how Arachne's story has intertwined with your own. How her legacy, her art, her punishment are not just hers. They are shared by all who hear her tale. And in that moment, as the stars begin to twinkle above, you realize that some stories don't have endings. They continue to weave themselves into the world, one thread at a time. And Arachne's story, her web, will never truly end. It will live on in the stories we tell, in the art we create, in the threads of fate that we all share. The night deepens, and the quiet settles around you like a soft blanket. You let the peace of the world fill you, knowing that the threads of fate are always at work, always weaving something new. And in this quiet moment, you find yourself content, knowing that you, too, are a part of this great tapestry, a thread in the web of life, connected to something much larger than yourself. And with that, the world fades into sleep once again, the quiet hum of the universe wrapping around you like the softest of blankets, as the threads of fate continue to weave their endless story. The days flow by in a gentle rhythm, and with each passing moment, the thought of Arachne's weaving lingers at the edge of your consciousness. There are times when you catch yourself pausing, staring off into the distance, as though the world itself is quietly urging you to understand something deeper. And though the weight of the story has softened with time, you feel its presence in the smallest things, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the way threads of conversation weave their way into the fabric of your day, the way moments of fate seem to arrive unbidden. You've learned, perhaps without realizing it, that the universe is constantly creating, constantly weaving. Every small action, every choice you make, is a thread in the tapestry of life. Some threads are bright, full of joy and laughter. Others are dark, laden with sorrow or struggle. But all are part of the same design, a design that's too vast for anyone to truly comprehend. Arachne's fate is a part of that design, as much as Athena's, and as much as your own. You think back to that moment in the village, the moment when Athena's divine judgment was passed down, when Arachne's defiance was met with punishment. And yet, in the stillness of the night, in the silence of her endless weaving, there was something more, something powerful, something timeless. It was as though Arachne, in her defiance, had found a strange kind of freedom. She had become part of the great web of fate, just as the gods themselves were. She had, in her own way, woven herself into the very fabric of the universe, a thread that would never be broken, no matter how much time passed. You find yourself wondering if there's a deeper lesson to be learned from her story. Perhaps it's not just about the punishment, or the challenge, or even the pride that led to it. Perhaps it's about what happens when we create something, anything, and how it connects us to the world around us. In her weaving, Arachne became part of something larger than herself. She became a symbol of the power of creation, of the way art, in all its forms, weaves us together. And maybe that's the true power of her legacy. Not her punishment, but the way her art continues to live on, long after she has spun her last web. You find yourself drawn back to the quiet of your thoughts, to the soft pull of the night. It's as though the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to understand. You close your eyes and let the stillness wash over you, feeling the pull of the universe, the pull of the threads that bind everything together. You think about all the moments in your life, all the small choices, all the actions that have led you to this point, and you realize, with a soft smile, that you too are part of the tapestry. Every step, every breath, every thought, each one is a thread in the great design. The wind stirs outside, soft and comforting, and you let it carry your thoughts away. The story of Arachne, the story of Athena, the story of fate, they all blur together in your mind like the threads of a well-worn fabric. It's not just one story, or one moment, or one lesson. It's the entire design, the way the threads connect and intertwine, the way they create something beautiful, something bigger than any of us could ever fully grasp. And in the quiet of the night, you feel at peace with that. You understand that, like Arachne, like the gods, like everyone who has ever lived, you are part of something much larger. Your threads are woven into the fabric of time, and though you may never fully see the design, you know it is there. It is in the way the stars shine, the way the world turns, the way we all come together in moments of connection. The night deepens, and the soft murmur of the wind fades into silence. You feel the world settling around you, each thread of life weaving itself into the grand design, piece by piece, moment by moment. You close your eyes and take a deep breath, knowing that your story, too, is part of this endless tapestry. The threads may shift, they may tangle, but they are never truly lost. They are simply woven into something new, something greater. And so, with a final soft breath, you surrender to the quiet of the night, knowing that the tapestry of life will continue to unfold, with each of us, in our own way, leaving behind the threads of our own stories. The night continues its quiet dance around you, and the world outside feels as though it's been stretched just a little thinner, a little longer than it should be. The stars twinkle overhead, their light softly casting shadows on the ground below. It feels like you're moving through time itself, watching it stretch, bend, and fold in slow, deliberate waves. You think back to Arachne's transformation. Her punishment, though harsh, was also a kind of immortality. A punishment that could never truly undo the mark she left on the world, because in the end, the art she created with such defiance became something that transcended her form. She became more than just a mortal girl who dared to challenge the gods. She became part of the fabric of fate itself, a weaver of destiny whose threads still ripple through the ages. It's a thought that stays with you as you walk through the world the next day, moving through it like a figure caught in an ever-spinning web. Every moment feels tied to the one before it, and each connection seems deeper, more intricate. You begin to see the threads everywhere, in the way people's lives intertwine, in the patterns that form from chance encounters, in the quiet moments of connection that, in retrospect, change the course of things. Like a spider's web, everything is connected, and everything has meaning, even when it's not immediately apparent. You stand at the edge of a river, watching the water flow past. The current is steady, but the riverbed beneath shifts and changes, shaped by invisible forces, unseen currents. The water, like time itself, flows on. It doesn't stop for anything. It just keeps moving, carving out its path, weaving itself into the land, reshaping it. There's a calmness in the way it moves, a sense of inevitability. And that's the strange thing about fate. It's not just about the moments we can see, but about the ones we can't. The unseen threads that connect everything, pulling us in ways we can't always understand, nudging us in directions we didn't think we would go. You realize that just like Arachne, you are part of something far greater than yourself, something that can never truly be unraveled. The tapestry of life is too vast, too complex, and too beautiful to ever comprehend fully. As you stand by the river, you can't help but think about how small you are in the grand scheme of things. The river, the sky, the stars, they've all been here long before you and will continue long after you're gone. And yet, for all its vastness, there is a thread that runs through it all, binding it together, shaping it in ways that aren't immediately obvious. You, too, are part of that thread. You are part of the web that connects everything. You turn and walk away from the river, and as you do, you realize that the world around you is, in a sense, constantly being woven by you, by others, by the very forces of fate that move through the world like an invisible loom. Every action, every word, every thought creates a new thread in the tapestry, a new path to follow, a new connection to be made. There's something comforting in that, isn't there? The idea that no matter how small we are part of something much larger. We may not always see the full design, but it's there, unfolding in ways we can't fully understand. And in that, there's beauty. Even Arachne, in her punishment, became part of that larger design, a weaver whose art transcended her mortal form, whose defiance turned into a legacy. The day fades into evening, and the soft murmur of the world continues around you. The winds blow gently through the trees, and the sky begins to take on the deep hues of twilight. You feel the quiet peace of the night returning, and as the stars begin to appear, you think of Arachne once more. She, too, is a part of this vast web. Her story, her legacy, her weaving it will never truly end. You smile softly, thinking of the web of life, how it weaves us all together. There are no true endings, only threads that continue to stretch across time, across space, across the generations. Arachne's art will always be with us, woven into the very fabric of the universe, her legacy stretching far beyond her punishment. As the stars sparkle overhead, you realize that you too are a weaver. You are part of the tapestry, no matter how small your thread might seem. And as long as you continue to create, to live, to weave your own story, your thread will continue to stretch across the grand design of the world, connecting you to everything, everyone, and every moment. And so, with that understanding, you let the night take you, letting the soft, soothing rhythm of the world guide you into sleep. You know that, just like Arachne, your story will continue to be woven, thread by thread, into the endless tapestry of fate. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket, and as you drift deeper into sleep, you feel the weight of everything you've experienced, everything you've learned, and everything you've become. The stars above continue their slow dance, as they always have, and the threads of time stretch endlessly into the dark. Each one a story, a life, a moment, intricately woven into the tapestry of the universe. In your dreams, you find yourself again in that quiet forest, bathed in moonlight. The trees seem to sway in time with the whispers of fate, the soft rustling of leaves like the delicate sound of thread slipping through a needle. You follow the trail of silver webs that lead you deeper into the woods, where Arachne waits, her form now fully integrated into the very fabric of the forest itself. She is no longer just a spider, but a part of the natural world, her weaving entwined with the trees, the sky, and the earth. There's no longer any fear in her movements, no more anger, no more regret, only peace, a deep, quiet understanding that the web she has created, her art, her punishment, her legacy is eternal. She is part of the cycle of life and death, creation and destruction, a weaver in the grand design of the universe. Her task, though endless, is no longer one of suffering. It is simply what is. She has become one with the flow of time, a symbol of how even the harshest of judgments can lead to a form of freedom in creation, freedom in the act of weaving, freedom in the eternal process of being. And you, standing before her, feel that same connection. You, too, are part of the great web. You, too, are creating your own tapestry, whether you see it or not. Every choice you make, every action you take, is a thread in the grand design. You are not a passive observer of life. You are an active participant, weaving your story into the fabric of time. The dream shifts again, and you find yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the waves gently lapping against the shore. The water, like the threads of fate, stretches endlessly before you, shimmering in the pale light of the moon. You feel a sense of calm wash over you, as though you have reached a place of understanding, a place where time and space lose their meaning, and all that matters is the connection between all things. You stand there for what feels like hours, simply breathing in the night air, feeling the pull of the universe in every movement, every breath. The ocean before you is not just water. It is a vast, endless web, its currents shifting and changing, its waves moving in time with the rhythms of the cosmos. The threads of life, of fate, of creation, they all flow together in this great, boundless ocean, and you realize that you, too, are a part of it. You are not separate from the universe. You are woven into it, a thread that stretches from the shore to the stars, from the beginning to the end. And as you stand there, watching the waves roll in and out, you realize that the journey you've taken, the story of Arachne, the story of Athena, the story of fate, isn't just a story at all. It is a process, an endless unfolding. There is no beginning and no end, only the weaving of time, the creation of life, the continuation of the great design. In the distance, the first light of dawn begins to break over the horizon. The stars fade slowly, giving way to the pale, golden light of a new day. You watch as the ocean before you shifts in the light, the threads of fate weaving themselves into the new day, the new moment, the new story that is yet to be told. With a gentle sigh, you let the peace of the moment fill you, knowing that Arachne's story will continue, that your story will continue, and that the tapestry of life will never truly end. It will only keep weaving, thread by thread, moment by moment, into the infinite web of existence. As the first rays of the sun touch the horizon, you feel yourself being pulled gently back from the dream. The threads of sleep, the web of the night, begin to unravel as you awaken, but the peace you felt, the understanding, the connection remains. You open your eyes to the morning light, And you know that you are not just a part of the world, you are part of the story. The story of Arachne, of Athena, of fate, and of life itself. You are woven into the tapestry, just as everyone else is. And you realize that, in the end, that's what matters. The threads we create, the lives we touch, the stories we leave behind, they are all part of the grand design. And with that thought, you drift off once more, knowing that the tapestry continues to weave, that the stories continue to unfold, and that, in some quiet way, we are all part of the weave of fate. As the night grows deeper, the world around you softens, quieting into the delicate hum of the universe's eternal rhythm. The moonlight filters through your window, casting gentle shadows on the walls, as though everything is wrapped in a blanket of stillness. You've learned something profound tonight, haven't you? That we are all part of something vast, something too complex to fully grasp, woven into a tapestry that stretches far beyond our understanding. Arachne's tale, like the threads of fate she wove, will never truly end. Her story lives on in the quiet spaces between breaths, in the whispers of wind that carry her legacy across the world. It's a reminder that art, no matter how fleeting or misunderstood, leaves an indelible mark on the fabric of time. Just as Athena's actions, though harsh, helped shape that legacy, so too does every moment of our lives contribute to the greater design. We are all creators, whether we realize it or not, weaving the threads of our own destinies. So now, as the world drifts into peaceful slumber, take comfort in the idea that you, too, are part of the great web of existence. Every step you take, every choice you make, is a thread that stretches across time, connecting you to the stories of those who came before and those who will come after. The tapestry is never truly finished. It's always in the process of being woven, piece by piece, moment by moment. As you close your eyes and let the quiet fill your mind, remember that you are woven into something much greater than yourself. Sleep now, and let the threads of dreams carry you gently through the night into a new day where the story continues.